Yes, this is Professor Desiree Dubonnet, and yes, that's me back as Bill Nelson lecturing. And today I'm not going to talk about my experience as an electrical engineer, medical doctor, lawyer, and the other things. Today it's homeopathy. The lectures that I did about homeopathy and recreating homeopathy, saving homeopathy, being able to really explain the quantum nature of homeopathy, the taste receptors inside the mouth. They were able to allow for this Art Schultz principle of reversal in some cases and intensification in others. So I was able to do this, and I had gone to Singapore, did presentations back in the 90s, met Luc Montagnier. I had dinner with the Nobel Prize winner, and I was able to teach him about energetic medicine, changed his mind. He spent the rest of his life working with energetic medicine. Then took a job teaching at different homeopathy hospitals, energetic hospitals, and at the #1 medical hospital in Budapest, Semmelweis. I had developed patents on homeopathy and many other different things. And as a professor, I started looking into it and found out that we've got to get to the sense of natural medicine, the sense of the life force in the natural medicine. Well, here I am today, Desiree Dubonnet. I'm going to talk to you about homeopathy today.
Imponderable homeopathy. This is the idea of taking an energy form and putting it into a homeopathic substance. The first form of this was done by Hahnemann, where he tried to make a homeopathic of a magnetic field. Since then, homeopathics have been made of north magnetic, south magnetic. But one of the things that made it most famous was when Baricki and others tried to make homeopathic X-ray. They would take a little bit of diatomaceous earth, which is made from diatoms, coming from the ocean. And these diatoms are the skeleton of a type of plankton that lived in the sea a long, long time ago, died. And this was a very absorptive substance, a very absorptive being, this little creature. In fact, life on the world today largely exists because these plankton, these diatoms, can absorb toxicities. We're making the planet more and more toxic, and these things absorb. And it's because of their absorptive quality that they reasoned if they put a little bit of that into a water and alcohol solution and then sent an X-ray through it, could it absorb that energy? Lo and behold came the imponderable, because it's hard for our minds to ponder or understand this energy transfer. There was even a homeopathic made of the light of the planet Saturn, where they took a telescope and put that energy from the telescope into a homeopathic substance while it was looking at the planet Saturn. Of course, there's photons, thermal photons from the room, and light processes coming in at that substance from a lot of different places. So the science of this imponderable homeopathy never really got too far in. Back in the 1970s, I started working with the imponderables of emotions. Started working with it more in the 80s. The idea of taking that diatomaceous earth, blending it with water and alcohol, making an absorptive mother tincture, if you would, and then having a group of people hold it while experiencing a deep emotion, such as anger. 15 people with high degrees of anger hold it and focus that anger into that substance. We'd like to use that substance with the top open so that some of the phenoms, some of the smells, the chemistry of that anger can be contagiously spread into the water. And after that's done, then we seal up the tube and succuss it. So we're capturing that energy in an energetic form, is also trying to capture some of it from the subtle little smells that come from the human body in those different emotional states. All in all, we've made over 200 different imponderables of different types of energy, and a lot of them emotional, and started working with them with the Skio. And lo and behold, over the course of the last 20 plus years, we have seen dramatic results. We have seen that these things actually do work. The testimonials are incredible. And when we do this, we see that people who react to different emotional states, different emotional imponderables, that those are meaningful results to them. Not always predictable results, and very difficult to set up an experiment for a before and after. But when we look at the imponderable list generated by a patient's electrophysiological reactivity, lo and behold, we see something meaningful. When we see it and we work with it, we find that it's exciting and it gives us a chance to communicate with the patient's deep unconscious. Because there truly is a reactivity, an electrophysiological reactivity. We call it the transcutaneous voltammetric evoked potential, which you can see all different types of books and videos we made about. But here we're talking about the ability to react to an imponderable. Hololinguistic, maybe? Energetic? Psychic? Who knows? But it is a dramatic, real event that is happening and helping people to deal with their emotional issues. So I hope this explains a little bit more about the imponderable, and I'm sure we all realize that this is very hard to ponder, very hard to think about, and that's why we call it imponderable.
Today we're going to talk about the field of cybernetics, biocybernetics, the branch of science concerned with control systems in medical devices. Okay, now the word cybernetic comes from the Greek word cybernet, meaning the steersman of the boat. In order for him to steer, he has to be able to see, he has to have feedback, see and hear. Now examples of other cybernetic systems are like the thermostat. Because you have a sensor that measures, then you have a controller that will then determine what to do, air conditioning or heat. And then it does a stimulus. In biostimulation, we talk about the hypothalamus, which is there to regulate thirst, satiation, sexual desire, and many other things. Now, we started out by doing science on this cybernetic loop well over 40 years ago. In traditional medicine, the ECG, EEG, EMG, GSR, and many others are modern medical techniques used to measure the body. Sensors. What if we take these measurements, then have a controller, a computer system to analyze them, and then have a stimulation through other medical systems, traditional medical systems, of TENS, CES, electro wound healing, EWH. What if we put them all together in a cybernetic system where we're going to get sensors, controller, and stimulation, and put it all together into a loop? And we call this the EPFX cybernetic loop. Being able to measure the body electric and treat the body electric. Now, as we start to put this all together, I found registration for this back in 1989. And now for a presentation I made back in 1999 as Bill Nelson, before I became Desiree Duvernay. Watch and learn to find out about cybernetic loop theory.
Now, we've mentioned the idea of a cybernetic loop. Let's explain a little bit more. Back in 1989, I was able to register the first zeroid system, known as the EPFX device, and this was through the company Eclosion. And I was able to register that with the FDA in America. It was a diagnostic device capable of measuring different channels, up to 10 different complete channels of changes in the body, and it was diagnostic. In 1990, I was then able to register a different device, known as the SCIO device, with the FDA, and it was therapeutic. It was able to generate different therapies along the idea of TENS, trans-electrical nerval stimulation, TENS, TENS. This was a variation of the Mora device, variation of the Rife device, a variation of the TENS devices, and basically was using a therapeutic mode. Well, in 1991, I had gone to the FDA and now said I want to combine. These were both registered devices, and I wanted to combine the two of them in one device and make a device that was capable of diagnosing energetic disturbances in the body, and then one that was able to correct them. A device that might be able to correct brainwave, correct Alzheimer's, correct different things. 1991, the FDA said no. I said, why not? They said they don't have to answer that question. So I didn't know what to really do. See, the old-style eclosion device, the device known as Phasix today, is only a diagnostic device. It does not have the therapy. It was an archaic device. In 1992, I had come to Hungary, and by working with the Hungarian officials, they said, what a wonderful idea. A diagnostic device combined with a TENS device. A device that could measure disturbance in the brainwave and then correct it. A device that would be able to measure electrical disturbances in the body electric and correct it at biological speeds. They said how we might be able to cure many mental diseases, Alzheimer's, epilepsy, many other different things, minimizing the cost of or the need of drugs in the patient. A much more natural, energetic type of medicine. So we were able to register the device in Hungary, and it has a cybernetic loop where we can now measure the body with the computer, and the computer can treat the body. And since the computer's speed is in the minimum of 200 megahertz, we can see that the computer has very much time to be able to intervene with the body at every millisecond of speed. And the ionic exchange rate in the human body is around 1/100th of a second. So as different changes are happening in our body electric, as we are responding to our environment, we do so in about 1/100th of a second. And the device with the cybernetic loop would be able to regulate different processes and help to promote health and biological resonance.
So you can see that now we're being able to make a cybernetic loop that can measure the body electric, treat the body electric, and correct the body electric. And this is all done with the EPFX registered system. I hope that you can understand a lot more, and if you have questions, present them to us here at Immune.